Okay, welcome everybody to the July 2026 MAS monthly meeting. I am Walt Strabergs, the president of MAS, and we'll dive into the agenda for today. So we've got a slightly different program. So we've got two featured speakers, both Dave Falkner and Steve Emert have presentations. So I'm cutting out some of the slides, some of the PSA slides up front, and we'll try to do that brief, but we also have in addition to the treasure report and our regular slides and outreach events, Dave's going to talk about outreach a little bit, and then Clayton's going to talk about the site committee site update at JJC and Metcalf, and then pretty much the rest of the standard slides. So we'll get going here. 2026 MAS board. Again, I'm Valtz. John Zimmich, our vice president's here. Claire and Phil are not in-house, or they're busy tonight. Phil's camping, I believe, and Noha and Jesse are also here. So any question about any of the MAS operations, finances, board questions, anything, just contact us through the website or any one of our emails. Those are all published at mnastro.org about board contact. You can fill out a form, send us a question. All right. All right, membership. So every month, Steve sends a summary email of all the new members. So welcome new members. We get a slew of them this month. So our total membership this year at this time, July 1st, is 706, 3 honorary, 150 patron, 527 regular, 26 student. So any new members, either in the room or online, please raise your hand or, well, welcome. Do you want to introduce yourself real quick or? Excellent. Welcome, Megan. Uh, oh yes. No, we did file our taxes. Our taxes, everything's done. So we should all the state and federal paperwork's done and filed. So no lag time there. All right. Thank you. Membership again. If you've got any questions, reach out to Steve at membership@mnastro.org. Steve, you have a comment? Oh, you're just raising your hand. That's Steve right there. That's Steve. That's Steve. You have a question? He's the guy. So about benefits, about anything in your membership related. So Steve's the guy. All right. Astro events for July 2026. So starting on the 4th, conjunction of Mars and Uranus. Third quarter moon, July 7th. Moon and Saturn, July 7th also. And there's a bunch of asteroids in the list this month. So asteroid 18 Melpomene, magnitude 9, and 8 Flora, magnitude 8.9, are at opposition on the 9th. July 11th, conjunction of the moon and Mars. July 14th is new moon. July 17th, conjunction of moon and Venus. July 21st, first quarter moon. The 26th, asteroid Juno, magnitude 9.1 will be at opposition. July 27th, Pluto is at opposition. It's only mag 14.9. There's our chance. Asteroid 324 Bamberga, magnitude 9.3, is also at opposition on the 28th. 29th, Pisces Austrinid meteor shower. 29th will be the full moon. 30th, Southern Eta Aquarid meteor shower, and also the Alpha Capricornid meteor shower, bolstered by that full moon. So we're going to be really well seen. August 2nd, Mercury's greatest elongation west. August 3rd, comet, not comer, 10P Temple's peak brightness of the cycle. Yeah. August 5th, Mercury's highest altitude in the morning sky. So Mercury, early August morning. Then August 5th, third quarter moon. Okay, again, the visible comets, there's not, Temple 2 is really the only useful one, really interesting one that's visible. And that's a short period comet. It's pretty much always around. All right. Upcoming space events launches still on the books. Sometime the Rocket Factory Augsburg 1 is the maiden flight out of Scotland, so that's going to be an exciting launch. and there's no launch date set for that, but that is slated for this year. Long March 10B demo out of China is part of their lunar program. So that's also a demo flight. Soyuz MS-29 is a crewed mission to ISS. So that's launching out of Kazakhstan. And then interesting, I mentioned this last month, but it hasn't launched yet, is the Pegasus XL out of Kwajalein. It's being launched, it's an air launch rocket, and it's launching the Link mission to service the Swift satellite. So what the plan is for it to link up with the Swift satellite that's sinking in its orbit, and it's going to try to raise its orbit to extend its life, because that's a very useful satellite. Very, very useful. And then another mission, Sunrise mission, it's a 6 CubeSat radio interferometer, and that's scheduled on a ULA Vulcan rocket, but that rocket I don't think is ready for launch yet. They're still investigating some anomalies that happen there. So that's what's happening in launches for the people like to watch that. Ooh. Outreach requests. Mr. Falkner, you want to come and cover these? So I do want to announce that Dave Falkner has stepped up and is now the outreach coordinator.
There we go. Yes, I have taken over outreach from Jesse. And so a couple things I wanted to bring up.
Big round of applause for Jess for the
Yeah.
she's done.
Thank you, Jesse, very much for your hard work. She was doing it for over a year, right? So, yeah. So, a couple things on here. The Minnetonka Community Center, that's a presentation. It's just a What's Up Tonight presentation. We had someone who was going to do it, and then they were unable to. So, if you're so inclined to do that, let me know, and we'll put your name up there and get you in touch with the person who's coordinating that. The other thing that I want to bring up is this August 22nd, Forestville Mystery Cave Dark Sky Festival Table and Star Party. They need to know soon who's going to be down there, because this is a DNR. I think they got to do background checks and stuff like that. So if you would like to do that, let me know and I'll get your name to it. I need to know probably by Monday close of business. So if you can't do it, that's okay. We'll just let them know that we don't have any volunteers for that. Yeah. By the way, that's about 45 minutes or so south of Rochester. So it's kind of far. Yeah, it's right on the border of Iowa. Yeah. All right. Enough of that. So other than that, we have all these coming up in August and September. There's several of them that are still available. For outreach, we do put an announcement on Slack, but most of the we also posted on the forums, and the communication is really done on the forums too. So that's much easier way to see the various outreach opportunities that we have. I think that's about it.
Yeah, I do have a special request from David Schaff on the September 18th, 19th LLCC event S'mores and Stars. We're looking for volunteers for that one. That one's not as many people have signed up on that as we'd like, because their LLCC is expecting the public. That's a public event for LLCC. All right, thank you, Dave. And thank you all outreach volunteers. It's just it's a fun activity to do. BSIG, Beginner Special Interest Group Observing Session, July 18th, 8 p.m., correct? 8 p.m., Metcalf Field. Sign up on the website, receive the go, no-go decisions. Suresh does a great job updating everybody, keeping in case we got to switch to it. So Friday is the backup date in case bad weather. So far this year, we're 4 for 4. 10 straight. So we're doing really good with BSIGs. So see the website calendar at mnastro.org for updates, and he also posts it every month on the forum, what's going on and where and who's volunteering. So It's always a fun event. All right, other upcoming MAS events. So July 4th, ELO is having a public star party with featured speaker Laura Hammerbeck. And so that's kind of an experiment by the ELO committee to have it actually on a holiday. So all the support and the volunteers and the key holders available, help out at ELO. Should be a fun event. July 10th, LLCC member observing weekend, and also a CGO member party on July 10th. July 18th, the ELO Public Star Party with featured speaker Tanya Melnick. I'm sure she's talking about Aurora and that kind of stuff. July 18th, again, as I mentioned, the BSIG at Metcalf Field. August 1st, another ELO Public Star Party. And then August 6th, the MAS monthly meeting right here, which will be the astrophotography showcase event. So, and we'll talk more about that in a little bit. Upcoming key holder trainings, we don't have anything up. The first one up I see is August 1st. And ELO key holder training is a website sign up. You can get through it from the main menus of the website, going to the ELO facilities page, and then you can get to it. JJC July 25th. That's sign up on the forum. Clayton, is that still a thing? Yes, it is. CGO July 10th, also a forum sign up for that. That's in same day as the member star party. So, and then LLCC will be doing keyholder training during NNSF. And this year we're also going to be training on the 6-inch Gertner scope as well. So in addition to the obsessions, we're gonna have the third telescope up there, and that's going to be the inaugural session for that. All right, Cherry Grove Observatory. So Jim Rice and Conrad have been doing a really outstanding job polishing up and getting all of the imaging rig all tuned up. So basically, it's a really great opportunity for experienced imagers to really dig in and use high-end equipment for imaging, either the plane wave or the Takahashi. And for beginner astrophotographers, it's really set up using Nina software where you can really dig in and learn the basics of astrophotography. So a whole bunch of updates that these guys have been doing. The mirror has been refinished. I know Conrad talked about that last year. Moonlight focuser rotator updated firmware for better thermal management. We updated the ME2 mount and rig and the computer that runs that mount. We cleaned up all the wiring, installed Nina and got Nina working and dialed all the settings in for Nina, and updated the scheduling page for key holders and all of that kind of stuff. So the CGO imaging team is going to start key holder training in this July. So watch the CGO forums for any of that. Anything else, Jim or Conrad? All right. Thanks for all the hard work that you guys have been doing on this. This thing looks really, really good. I think we're ready to go. So use this equipment. Sign up and use it now. All right. Save the date. So just like we started last year, we're going to have a volunteer appreciation day, and we're calling it Ann Nerd Fest. So that the idea is not only to come and have a barbecue, but bring your science toys and share, and we're just going to have fun. It's nothing serious. Just we're going to be zapping each other with Tesla coils and doing all kinds of fun stuff. All right. So October 3rd, 2025, we're envision about noontime. So it'll be a picnic, daytime picnic. So save that date. All MAS members, volunteers, everybody's welcome. So, all right. Then next month, very important, 7th annual members astrophotography meeting. So August 6th meeting right here. Send your images to Ahmed at programs@mnastro.org. The due date for images is July 31st at 11 p.m. There'll be door prizes for submitted pictures. How many? Couple, two, three? Couple.
3 books are Three door
something.
prizes
We'll
like
have
we've
we'll
done
have a
the past
couple.
of years.
Yeah, we'll have a couple things. We'll do the spinning wheel, all that kind of stuff. So send your best pictures. So send your best 2 pictures or one time lapse movie. Because some time lapses go on and on and on. Are really good, but they take up a lot of time. So send in your best 2 pictures and be ready to talk about them and be ready to describe the equipment, your setup, or put a nice story behind those pictures. So um, provide us with your insight on your images. All right. Anything else, Ahmed?
It's perfect. Send me pictures. That's all I need.
Yep. We need everybody's pictures. Let's fill up
And
the
if you
thing.
don't start sending me pictures, I'm going to start calling people. Oh, Chris, is Chris set this here? Yeah. Okay. Your neighbor's tree is down. You don't have an excuse.
Anything.
Anything, yeah. Yes.
Yeah.
Time lapses.
Yeah, a time lapse or a video, that's fine.
Set a limit last time. I forgot how much we said. 2 minutes.
Yeah, 2 minutes. Just don't go crazy. Yep.
Yeah. Send me pictures.
All right. So the big events coming up. So we'll start at ELO. So August 14th to 16th is Camping with the Stars. The sign up is through Carver Park County Parks. You can get to the Carver County Park site through the M and Astro events page. So you scroll down to the calendars, click on Camping with the Stars, and then there'll be a link to the registration page. So that's always a fun event. There's camping on the ball field, or you can camp or set up your own camp in the RV park. And there's day passes available as well. There's a light food being served, and there's star parties and speakers. The CGO or ELO committee is working hard to get that program all set up. So Camping with the Stars is coming up. And then at LLCC, September 9 through 14th is the Northern Nights Starfest. There's still openings available. There's still rooms available. We're trying to put at least 2 people in each room, and limited the single rooms, just so we can put as many people as we can on there. The registration link is also available through the MAS calendar page, and that sends you to the Long Lake Conservation Center registration system, and it's the same one that they've been using for years, the Camp Brain registration. So. Okay, first, we'll talk about Astronomical League. Jerry, I don't believe, is with us today here. He did send me a notice that he has no bling to hand out this month. So Jerry didn't give us any derogatory words though. So, but anyway, so Jerry has nothing this month, but Alcon 2026 is in Cincinnati, August 12th through the 15th. And you can register and find out all about it at alcon2026.org. And then I always have to say, have the special AL observing challenges. Number 10, T Corona Borealis, still out there. Back up. It's been number 10 for a long time. They're on number 16, so that's how. Oh, it is? Okay. Mag 10. Okay. And then the number 16 is the M102 Messier's Unknown Journey Observing Challenge, where the deadline is July 31st, 2026. So those are the 2 optional observing challenges that are posted at this point in time. So let's see if we actually can hear Jerry this time.
Get out there and observe or image.
There you go. All right. And we're going to have to listen to Jerry one more time.
Get out there and observe or image.
All right. Okay, shut up, Jerry. Okay, Clayton, you are up. You know this.
Oh. Hi. For those of you who don't know me, my name is Clayton Lindsay. I'm the committee chair for JJ Casby Observatory and Metcalf Field Committee, which is on the east side in Afton. So this is just an update for what's going on over there, maybe in 2025 and 2026 going forward. That first slide was a view of the JJ Casby Observatory. Also, what's important about that is it is used by the St. Paul school districts during the daytime during their session to bring 3rd and 5th graders in to take a look at the telescope, possibly do some solar observing in white light and NH alpha, which they have the ability to do in the club. in the observatory. We also have the Metcalf field and the BSIG night. You already covered the BSIG piece. My joke is always there's beginners and more than beginners that usually go there, which is good. A lot of amateurs show up there, never can't lose a clear night. And for continuing to lead the B6 Star Parties, thank you, Suresh. Wanted to give a special shout out for Suresh. You already had that, but yay. And sorry about the photo, but that's the only one I could find of you. It's okay. You always look, it always looks bigger in a photo. All right. So the 2026 Metcalf committee members, I'm not going to read all the names, but they are there. You can see them. We're probably looking for people to roll off and come back on in 2027. So if you're interested in being on the committee, please send me an email. This is the kind of what goes on from a standpoint of the membership. How many times we have reservations per month at the observatory for mentoring, which means key holders that haven't really been there and used the equipment very much or have not been there at all and would just like to have been trained, but would love to have someone out at night. So we do mentor new key holders. We also have now gone to reserving the plaza, since we have a few people that come up for astrophotography and just use the plaza and so forth. So you can see we don't have a huge numbers. Primarily the numbers start for using the observatory are in the spring through the summer and into the fall. Oh, sorry, it kind of, let's see that. All right, so changes at Bellwin. In the valley, if you've ever been to JJ Casby, you look down into the valley on the southwest side, and you will see that it drops a couple 100 feet into the valley, and there's wetlands. And so they built a new wetland center, which has now been named the Peter J. King Wetland Center. It was designed to support students with all abilities, with direct access to paved trails and accessible outdoor learning spaces, which they didn't have at the education center, which is up by the observatory. So they are now able to service a larger population. That it's about 1,200 feet from the observatory. The only thing that I didn't find a picture of the completed building on the web. You can find it on Facebook, I think, at the St. Paul School District, but I didn't want to rip it off for copyright. But the only little downside is occasionally they leave on an outdoor light down there, but it's not a big hassle since it's below us from the observatory standpoint. So it's not that big a deal. Also wanted to inform the group that the executive director, Katie Bloom, who's been there for several years, is now planning to transition from the being the executive director somewhere in the fall. Right now, she's temporary, filling in as needed as their search goes on for a new executive director. The other new change with the Wetland Center, the old gate, if you've been there before, the old gate is still there, but it's not locked anymore. And we have a new two gates across the broader roadway, and there's a lot more signage you can see up in the top right of this here. And there's more signage about where things are in that location. But we do have a new lock. It's now red. It is a partner lock. Means we share that with other partners with the Bellwin. So there's a new lock and a new code. If you're a key holder, you can find that information in our key holder forum. 2025, just a shout out for a couple of big projects, efforts that went on. We had the equipment update. We completed that. John B. did that. We had a keypad admin administration. Larry Kane stepped in. He's doing that at ELO. He's doing it at JJ Casby. We had some small electric outlet that was damaged, and John Heyman took care of that. Thank you, John. And also, John and Larry King were able to recaulk the dome in 2025 because we had a little bit of a leak. Also, the big one in 2025, in June 2025, we've already spoken about this earlier last year, but the tree south of Metcalf Field was removed thanks to Andrew Frazier, who really made that happen and talked to everyone and got everyone on the same page. Brad Nassett, who helped with the removing and putting up the chain link fence after Save a Tree, who donated all their services to remove those trees, got in there and removed them. They did it all in one day. Bob Brohoff, which was the owner of the land, who agreed to allow those trees to be cut and removed, and of course, Belwin themselves. Yep. Yep. Cool. Yep. So I guess one of the things we probably should look at this year, you see the fence is back up. There is some vines growing there. So we want to watch and make sure that we don't let things grow up too big there again. So small rubbish type trees, so forth. In 2026, we had benches. New benches were installed. Daniel Newman, who is not a member, who is an Eagle Scout candidate as his Eagle Scout project, built new benches for us. The benches are based on a design that Belwin has for all new benches at Belwin. So we had to take a look at what they were doing so that he could build it to their specs. And Mark Newman, which is his grandfather, was able to help with that. And Jim Rice, who got everyone coordinated and brought it to our attention so we could get that done. So that's a photo of Mark and Daniel sitting on the new benches. I've already informed Belwin that they'll probably get moved around as our astrophotographers go up there and do observing from the plaza. And they were all copacetic with that. So that's good. We also have prototypes. This is ongoing initial phases. Prototype sun and moon markers for the St. Paul school districts use when they bring the kids in, kind of to show where the sun rises, where the moon is, and that type of thing. So right now, Mark Newman 3D printed those, and I've already shown it to St. Paul School District, and they're interested in trying to see if they can incorporate that. They will not be there. They will not be up during the summer. They'll be in the cabinet. So if you see them there, just know that's what they are. We have the walkway replacement materials in hand, and they have been purchased and delivered, and we're now looking to schedule a work party, hopefully this summer, maybe this month or next, if we don't have any more super hot days like Monday. So we'll get that done. And so we'll watch, if you please watch for the work party notice on the forums. Also been approved by the board. Thank you, board. We didn't know if we'd get this year, but they did approve for us to get a new south side electricity outlet. And that will be, this photo is an aerial showing the trees that are now gone. But on the south side of the field, we will get a new outlet. And John Heyman is taking care of that with an electric company. We haven't heard exactly when right now it's requoting because it's been 6 months and we live in the US and inflation is here. So we'll need to find out what that number will be, but it'll be directly south of the north electrical outlet. So people will be able to go and set up their equipment to that side too. If you're interested, the budget, and this is the budget from standpoint of what I'm looking at, for this year, we got $800 to look at completing if we need to any more material or any more pavers to replace and gutters that were on the budget as we do the walkway. And we have some insurance costs, which is our part. We're only going to spend a little bit on supplies. So we don't have a lot of usage of those supplies, so we're okay. And we have a security cost. The Biffy is a big cost, but it's really needed. And the outlet, the old quote was about 1,900. Hopefully it won't increase too much when we get that. So the action items is we'll be looking for 2027 committee members. The electrical repair was complete, but in 2026, we need to minor stuff, just, spray for wasps, that type of stuff. And we'll probably have a spring cleaning, clean the dome work party in addition to the repairing or replacing the walkway. Any questions?
Take advantage. You put up down there, right. Therese was saying about the southern electrical outlet.
The reason behind that is because now at that location, astrophotographers will be able to set up and get a larger horizon, both north and south. So east, west. It's a little broader down that way too. The trees aren't so bad. So one question in the far back. You can, if you're a member but a non-key holder, you can always request a special outreach. But it's a good idea. We could do that at some point. This requested on the forum. How many people in this room would want to go to Aston for a night out at the JJ Casby? Okay, all right. We got a few. Would you rather me set up a date to do it, or? Yeah, the planets are a good thing, but yeah, I like it when it gets a little darker, a little earlier, instead of being out there at 10 to start. Okay, good recommendation. Thank you. If you have any questions later on, feel free to email me.
Thank you, Clayton. All right, presentations. So we abbreviated some of the slides here, but we normally have a member presentation. But today we have two later on. So, but basically, if you've got a topic that you want to talk about, or just have you want to share an observing campaign, you want to talk about some favorite astronomical object or some history topic, ATM project, observing outreach session, some kind of travel or trip or anything, and you want to and you're willing to do a 10 or 15-minute talk, that we want to hear from you, because we want you up here doing that presentation. It's also a great skill building experience for people who don't have public speaking experience. And it's just always fun to see what other members are up to in related to the hobby. So if you've got any ideas for a member presentation, please send an email to Ahmed at programs@mnastro.org, and we'll get you scheduled in the next couple upcoming months. But not next month. Next month is going to be all astrophotography. All right. Gemini. So just like the presentations, the Gemini needs your content. The Gemini is primarily written with member original content. And currently, Father Brown is wrapping up his final version of Gemini, along with Roger Cowie. So Roger Cowie, as I announced last month, is going to be taking over for Father Brown. And but so they are in the transition phase with this current version of Gemini. So also, just like the presentations, if you've got a favorite topic you want to write an article about with pictures and descriptions and all that good stuff, experiences, equipment, successes, challenges, anything goes really for Gemini. Father Brown and Roger Cowie will love to hear from you. So the way to submit anything to Gemini is email an article, email pictures. Father Brown really likes pictures with lots and lots of captions predefined. So send it to gemini@mnastro.org, and then they'll be published in one of the upcoming issues. And then on the website, of course, is the full Gemini archive. You can read and download the PDF file of the current Gemini, but you can also look at every single Gemini going back to the beginning of the MAS and even before the MAS. So all of that content is available online, freely downloadable. So we are ready for Mr. Falkner to come back to talk about the Artemis program. You want to use this? Or you want the handout? This is fine. Okay.
Okay, Artemis. Yeah, I saw the really cool logo that I did there. Wait a minute, this is on automatic. Go back. Why is it not automatic? We need to have this. This is advancing automatically. We don't want to do that.
No, that's
Share. Maybe it stopped doing it. Okay. Okay, so I'm up here to talk about Artemis. I've been kind of keeping track of that. I'm a NASA Solar System Ambassador, for those of you who don't know me. That's a program that is run by NASA and the Jet Propulsion Laboratory. There are volunteers that go out and talk about space exploration, and NASA missions in particular. About, I don't know how many there are now. There's over 1,200 of us. So I like to keep up with Artemis and see what's going on with that. Here's a really cool, logo thing. Yeah, anyway. Okay. So I thought I'd talk about what's been happening with the Artemis program, and talk about the next Artemis goals. And again, this thing's kind of advancing automatically on me. I don't know why. Let's go back. I think I know why. We go back for a second. Let me try something here. Oh God. Yeah. Don't use timings. There we go. Now let's try this. I took off timings. I think that's what I was doing. Okay. All right. So with the resounding success of Artemis 1 and Artemis 2, what are the next steps in the program, right? Isaacman, Jared Isaacman is the new director as of December, and he wants to speed up the program a little bit. And so, but he also understands that there are some challenges that we have. So what he wants to do is kind of take a lesson from Apollo program, and instead of Artemis 3 doing a moon landing, which was the original schedule, he wants to do this rendezvous and docking demonstration with the human landing systems, HLS, in low Earth orbit first to make sure everything works there. And then, with the success of that, do the Artemis 4 as a lunar landing in early 2028. Okay. The good news is that the Artemis 3 crew has been selected. From left to right, you have Andre Douglas, who's a mission specialist, Lucas Parmitano, who's a European Space Agency astronaut. He's going to be the pilot. Randy Bresnik, who's a commander, and Frank Rubio, who's a mission specialist. Okay. So what are the goals of this? So the first thing is to, after the Orion systems are checked out and the spacecraft looks like it's in good shape, then they want to demonstrate rendezvousing and docking with the human landing systems that are proposed for landing on the moon. So this will be really highly choreographed. We're looking at multi-launch campaign of the world's most powerful rockets and testing the integrated hardware between Orion and the landers. Okay. So what are the landers we're talking about? Well, there's two of them. Okay. One is the Blue Moon lander by Blue Horizon, and the other is, of course, SpaceX Starship lander. The one on the left is actually the Mark II version of the Blue Moon lander, which will be ready in the early 2030s. And they're going to be using the Mark I version, which we'll see in a minute. Okay. So let's talk about Blue Origin and the Blue Moon human landing system. As I mentioned, the Mark II won't be ready till the early 2030s. Blue Moon Mark 1.5 will be produced for the initial moon landing. Should be ready in 2027 for the Earth orbiting docking demonstration. It's going to use the New Glenn carrier rocket. And on May 26th, they did a test of the New Glenn rocket, and they had an anomaly with that. Yeah, slight anomaly with this. Good news is that all personnel were accounted for, but there was some damage to the C-38A launch facility at Cape Canaveral, as you can imagine. But the after-action report reported that the propellant farm, the oxygen liquid tanks, and LNG tanks are all in good shape. The water tower is also in good shape. The big support tower is damaged, but can be repaired in place rather than torn down and replaced. And the booster, never tell me the odds, and the boost and the three GS2 engines that were on site are also in good shape. Okay. Now, so what's the impact of the Artemis schedule on this, right? Clearly, that was a pretty big anomaly. The manufacturing rate of the new Glenn 7x2 rocket is going okay. There's a larger version, a heavy lift version also, that they won't be using with this initial launch. So we're still talking about the 7x2 rocket. The company has already been working to replace the launch complex's current transporter erector system with a vertical concept. So they used to erect the whole thing horizontally and then raise it up. Now they're going to put the main rocket and lift it up and then build the rest of it on top of that. I saw that just recently in an article. The C-36A launch facility had some significant damage, but they are working to repair that, and they are optimistic that they can get that repaired by the end of the year. There are 2 alternate sites under construction, but neither of them are ready to go just yet, and probably won't be ready for at least another 12 months. Blue Origin's claim that they will fly again by the end of the year is considered optimistic by most experts, with 15 months being the best case scenario. However, they are still claiming that they can be back in action by the end of the year. They're still investigating that. I have not seen the final determination on what the cause of the anomaly was. Any delays at this point could jeopardize the company's contracts with NASA and provide to provide the HLS that will transport the Artemis astronauts to the surface of the moon. Okay, any questions about Blue Horizon? Okay, then we have SpaceX. SpaceX Starship HLS development and testing the Starship is proceeding, though not at the pace needed for the current Artemis schedule. To date, many of the systems have been tested and defined, and you can see that. But I think it's worthwhile here to review what exactly SpaceX's proposal is for placing the HLS around the moon and taking the astronauts down there. So this little diagram shows this. So what SpaceX has is developed several versions of this spaceship rocket. One of them is a tanker version, and then there's the HLS version, and there's a couple other versions as well. So their idea is that they're going to launch the tanker version up into space, into orbit, and then they're going to launch several smaller rockets up to refuel the tanker rocket in orbit. It takes probably at least 10 of these other rockets to refuel the tanker rocket. And then the Starship Human Landing Systems rocket will go up, and the tanker and the human landing systems will rendezvous and transfer propellant from the tanker version to the human landing system Starship. And then they'll send, so at that point, they'll then send the spaceship over to the moon there and put it in orbit, in a polar orbit around the moon. And then the Orion spacecraft will be launched, sent to the moon. The Orion spacecraft is strictly transporting the astronauts and a few scientific supplies and the like to the moon. They will rendezvous with the HLS. The HLS will then separate from the Orion spacecraft, land on the moon with the astronauts. They'll do, I don't know, a week, 6 days or so of moonwalks and the like, and doing experiments, and then they'll get back in the HLS. It will go back up into lunar orbit, rendezvous with the Orion spacecraft. The astronauts will transfer any samples they have and the like back over into the Orion spacecraft. It will then separate from the HLS and go back to Earth, where it will be splashed down. Now, you should know that the ship-to-ship refueling demo and NASA certification was supposed to be done in March. Okay, neither has been done as yet. Okay, and the schedule for an uncrewed lunar landing has yet to be determined as well for either of these systems. So what does that mean? Well, we want to have the return to the lunar surface. It's scheduled to launch in 2028. The first crewed landing on the moon since Apollo 17. They use the United spacecraft to transit to the moon, as I mentioned, and the human landing systems will set them down. And besides testing the HLS craft, some prerequisites need to occur before the Artemis 4 launch. Did you have a question? So, yeah. There's an elevator. There really is. There's an elevator inside. I'm not sure about that. It's outside. Okay, it's an outside elevator that will transport. Okay. So something that they don't talk about a whole lot, but is really part and parcel to this whole program is what's called the commercial lunar payload services. Okay. Now these are contracts that NASA has let to commercial companies to transport scientific experiments and to pre-place equipment that the astronauts will use once they get down to the surface. Okay. And so far, there have been, well, I'm going to talk about 10 contracts that have been let so far, but there have been more than that, I think. And so far, their record isn't too good. Here's where they're scheduled to land. You can see that 5 of them are planned to land in the South Pole, because that's where they have the craters that have part of the craters in constant shadow, and they've discovered that there's water ice in those craters, and they want to harvest that ice to use as part of the program. So far, there have been 4 missions. 2 have been complete failures. One's been a partial failure, and one has been a success. The Firefly Aerospace one. Interestingly enough, the next one is the Blue Moon Pathfinder lander. So this human landing system, dry run, if you would, without astronauts, is the next one to go up. There's 3 more besides that are scheduled for this year to go to the moon. We'll just have to see how things go on that. Correct. That is correct. So, all right. All right. So this was Artemis 3. Now it's Artemis 4. I've already kind of mentioned this, where they'll pre-place the human landing system in orbit around the moon. It's a very elongated orbit. Oops, sorry about that. It's a very elongated orbit. I won't go into reason why, but that's a very stable orbit that uses very little fuel to maintain. The Orion spacecraft will then be launched, go out to the moon, rendezvous with the human landing system. When it gets close to the moon, it'll go down and land on the moon, and then do its thing, and then come back, and astronauts will fly back, and everything will be good. Okay. Humans on the moon. Right now, they're anticipating that the crew will consist of the first woman and the first person of color to land on the moon. The human landing systems will also carry up to 200 pounds of scientific equipment and tools. And they expect to bring back 87.5 pounds of lunar samples. And the CLPS providers may be used to pre-place science experiments. And excuse me, instruments being delivered to the surface of the moon by the astronauts are the HLS, which is LEMS, which is the Lunar Environment Monitoring Station. The LEAF is the Lunar Effect on Agricultural Flora, to investigate the impact of the lunar environment on space crops. And then the Lunar Dielectric Analyzer, which is developed internationally, will measure the ability of the lunar surface to propagate an electric field. All right. So through the use of several orbiting satellites, both the United States and Japan, and I believe India too. They have identified a number of sites that are potential sites for this. There's 13 of them there. And the site that they select will be determined by what the mission's going to be, the safety of being able to land there, the astronauts to move around and the like. But as you can see, that's the south pole of the moon there, and they're all around there because that's where those craters are that we're interested in harvesting ice from. So that's kind of where we're at with the Artemis program. I, you know, I'd say that they're behind schedule, and they are in a way. But unlike the government, commercial entities can pour a lot of money and manpower into catching things up. So Jared Isaacman has not said anything about missing the schedule in terms of having the rendezvous happen in 2027 and the lunar landing in 2028. So we have to keep our ear tuned for that. Yeah. Sure. Yeah. Yes. So the statement was that this is from Suresh, that he doesn't feel that the landing is going to happen in 2028, but is wondering about the Artemis 3 program and how much of the equipment in Artemis 3 is ready to go. Good question. It sounds like they've got a lot of the human landing systems equipment in pretty good shape. It's just getting it into orbit. That's the Starship? Right.
Yeah. It's not even blow up yet.
So I can't say whether they're going to be ready to go by the end of 2027 or not. But yeah. Yes. Correct. So the statement was that Apollo was like one thing that they took to one rocket that they took to the moon with the lander system and all that. And he's questioning why do they need to have these 10 refueling rockets for the fuel depot? So my understanding on that is that they want to be able to use and reuse the human landing system. And so they want to have plenty of fuel on that human landing system rocket to get to the moon. So they're going to use a certain amount of that to launch it into Earth orbit. They want to top it off, so to speak, with this refueling mechanism before they send it to the moon. Oh yeah, much bigger than Apollo. You can see the side of that thing. So yeah. Okay. Anything else? Anybody else?
Why said that it's going to be the human return to the Apollo 17. Have you been keeping up with the Chinese?
So I haven't been keeping close track of the Chinese. Obviously, we would like to get there before the Chinese. Okay. My understanding is that the Chinese are targeting early 2030 to land people on the moon. So, but I don't know where they are with their program. Okay.
How they don't like the concept of the SpaceX rocket, the 33 engines. Oh, can you guys hear me? So what I just read was that the Chinese just sent a report out to their government saying that they don't like the design of the American approach, and specifically with the heavy lift rockets having, say, 33 engines. They don't like that because there's 33 opportunities to fail. And so they're developing rockets that'll have fewer actual rockets within them to mitigate, but they don't like the approach at all.
So it sounds like they're building bigger rockets and fewer of them. But yeah.
Right.
copying the Apollo model. Yeah, I don't know what the the size difference is between the 33 rockets that are in the SpaceX and the Saturn V rockets. Yeah. Yeah. Well, it's a bigger rocket too. Let's be clear about that. So I don't know. Well, this is very fascinating stuff, and I would highly encourage you to keep up with the publishing on that and see what's going on. Okay, I'm done.
All right, thanks, Dave. So up next is Steve. So if you want to go ahead and.
I was really hoping Dave was going to take a lot longer. I was expecting mine to be about 15 to 20 minutes long here. So we're going to be done early tonight unless somebody else has some good stuff.
Oh,
Or
we had over 100 slides, so I was worried that we'd go long.
yes. Anyway, so Dave was talking about the future. I'm going to go into the recent past a little bit. Just kind of looking at some stuff that had happened in the last, between 20 years ago and just now. So even before Cassini and Juno, and thinking about when we first got our views of Jupiter and Saturn, it was kind of interesting. If you look back, Pioneer 10 did the first Jupiter flyby, and that's all it did was a Jupiter flyby, and it's on its way out of the solar system. And it took, let's see, launch 3.3 and closest approach to Jupiter is 1231. So it moved pretty fast for a little over a year and a half or so. And we did lose contact with Pioneer 1 quite a long time ago. Following Pioneer 10, Pioneer 11 did a Jupiter flyby in 74 and a Saturn flyby in 79. So that was our first close-up look at Saturn too. One thing is kind of interesting. I don't know if you guys know about this or not, but the I'm drawing a blank. The Voyager crafts that were coming up next. They were launching not too long after the Pioneer did their flyby of Jupiter, and they found out the huge radiation problems that we had there. So it was getting close to launch time. I'm not sure exactly where it was in the timeline, but it was kind of cool that the Pioneer team told the Voyager team, hey, there's a huge amount of radiation. You've got to do a better job. And they determined they needed to do a better job of shielding for radiation. They didn't have a whole lot of time to do it. So they went down, I think they cleared out the entire stock of aluminum foil in at least one grocery store nearby. And then they used that to wrap all of the wiring harnesses to shield them. And apparently it worked because Pioneer 10 and 11, they had some failures. They had some instruments they had to take offline because of the excessive radiation caused damage to them. So anyway, following those guys, I just said the Voyager 1 flyby. Yeah, we've got some notes there that I wanted to use. But anyway, Voyager 1 flew by Jupiter in 1979 and Saturn by 1980. And then Voyager 2, a little bit later, flew 79 and Saturn 1981. And the interesting thing is, of course, Voyager 2 is the only probe so far that's come close to Uranus and Neptune as well. So we haven't seen anything else to those guys. Galileo is the only probe that prior to Juno visited Jupiter. So, we've got a lot of things have happened recently, in Mars and stuff, but man, there's just not as much to the outer solar system. And of course, the Galileo probe they actually did go to Jupiter, and that one was live there from 1995 to 2003. And that's it for there. So anyway, a little bit more detail on Cassini. So it was launched October 15th, 1997, which whoops, you're right, it is, there we go. Well, there we go. It was launched on October 15th, 1997. Coincidentally, my 20th anniversary. I guess it was a gift to us. It took about almost 7 years to get to Saturn, and it orbited Saturn for for about 13 years. So it's overall a 20-year mission. And on its way to Saturn, it did the gravity assist flybys, Venus, and then Venus twice, and Earth, and then through Jupiter. So quite a few flybys to get there in that almost 7 years transit time to Saturn. And of course, the Huygens probe was released from Cassini on December 25th, 2004, and it landed on Titan a couple of weeks later. During that time, it did the 294 orbits of the Saturn system, and we got a huge amount of data from it. So I don't know if you remember looking at some of the things on the web during the time that during the 20 years or the 13 years of the mission, but we got a huge amount of data from Cassini, and it's all still live on the Cyclops website. I was hoping I could find for this thing some of the really nice movies that people had made of with the probe orbiting around the Saturn system. Some people had taken a lot of those pictures and normalized them into some beautiful movies, but for some reason I couldn't seem to find them. I found the raw data where they're jumping all over the place, so I didn't bother grabbing any of those cool movies. But just a huge amount of huge amount of data that was collected over those 7 years. So over those 294 orbits, it's interesting to take a look. So it just all over the place, and of course had flybys of all of the most of the moons of Saturn, and that repeats. So anyway, the scientific objectives, of course, were determining the 3D structure and the dynamics of the rings, determining the composition of the satellite surfaces and the geological history of everything, the nature and the origin of the dark material on Iapetus's leading hemisphere, and just measuring the magnetosphere of Saturn, and studying all of the dynamic behavior of Saturn's atmosphere at the cloud level and below. And then, of course, looking at Titan's clouds and hazes, and characterize its surface on the regional scale, and also through the lander. Oops, went too far. I guess that was that. There we go. To do that, the stuff that it did, basically a number of spectrometers, both in visual range and in infrared and ultraviolet, ion mass spectrometers, the magnetometers. Oh, sorry about that. Okay, I was seeing something different on this one for some reason. There's a bit of a delay. Anyway, yeah. Anyway, so of course we've seen all of those tremendous pictures and everything from the Cassini. So they were having a couple of cameras on it, the optical remote sensing, the infrared spectrometer, the imaging space system, of course, plus also looking at charged particles near Titan, Saturn, and the other satellites, the UV visualization, and then both a visual and an infrared camera. Duh. Okay, so 2 of 3, looking at all of the radiation, the spectrometer for flux particles, the cosmic dust analyzer, mass spectrometers, the magnetometers. So basically looking at this magnetic field, and also objects and particles trapped in the magnetic field. It's just a delay I'm getting. Also, there were microwave sensing. So, both Jupiter and Saturn have a pretty good sized radio emission. So looking at the radio waves and plasma wave science, radar, of course, to produce maps of Titan's surface and do the radio science. And The interesting thing, with the radio science, it's using radio's receivers on the Earth to see how the signals change. And it's basically looking at the Doppler shift of the radio signals over time as the orbits progressed. And then, of course, the Huygens probe. So some of the things it found, of course, were it discovered 7 new moons of Saturn, and it determined the rotational period is 10 hours, 33 minutes. It was previously thought to be a little bit longer than that. So they tightened that down. And then, of course, during the 2 close flybys of Enceladus, sorry about that, in 2005, that's when they discovered the little bit of a thin atmosphere, and primarily, that's the water spray up from the tiger cracks, and basically learned about the ocean underneath the surface. So just finishing that up with a couple of images from Cassini, of course. Didn't grab all of the ones by a long shot, but a couple of nice iconic images. Looking at, there it goes. Looking at Saturn overall, getting a close-up of the rings. That great storm of 2010, where the great white spot storm that recurs about every 30 years, it just had this huge long storm instead of just a single spot for a while. And that was during the time the probe was right along the equatorial plane. And then some close-ups of the rings. This is one of the moons that it discovered, Daphnis. I'm not sure of the pronunciation. I forgot to look that one up. But anyway, you can see the tidal disruption of the rings from that one within that gap. And then, of course, Enceladus, taking a look at that, and this image was February 17, 2005. So a lot of good detail on the surface, and of course, we know of the ocean underneath it. Let's see. And then Iapetus and the great walnut in the sky. Okay. So anyway, quick thing on the Juno mission overview. See, we're going to be done fast today. So by the numbers on Juno, so it was the second mission to orbit Jupiter. Like I said before, Galileo was first. This one was launched on August 5th, 2011. Did a Earth flyby on its way, and the transit time was almost 5 years to get to Jupiter. This Juno, the primary mission, if you recall, it was supposed to be just a few orbits that were this great big elliptical orbit, but it ended up that there was a problem with the main engine, and they decided to not do that burn. So it was supposed to be originally 3 53-day big elliptical orbits, polar orbits. And then there was supposed to be a burn on December 11, 2016 to put it into the short polar orbit. And then, use that. So it was highly, the electronics on it were really shielded very highly against radiation, but turns out it wasn't quite as bad as they were originally planning because they kept it in the big polar orbit. So what happened is then, of course, it's remaining in that large orbit, but it's changing over time. So taking a look at the orbits here. So it starts out with that very long elongated elliptical orbit, and then it does its first encounter with Ganymede right there. Then it does its encounter with Europa, and then finally Io, and that's where it's at now. And they're continuing with that until the end of the mission. The mission was originally going to last till about 2025, but then they decided that as long as the science instruments are hanging in there and it's on this big long elliptical orbit, might as well keep it in there until we lose communication with Juno. So it's going to continue in that last part of the orbit here. So the objectives are pretty obvious, I guess. So before Galileo, we thought that, the overall thought was that Jupiter was kind of a failed star, right? Even though it's not really big enough to be anything close to a brown dwarf. But they thought it was a failed star, mostly consisting of hydrogen and helium like a star. Galileo proved that that's not the case. There's more heavy elements within it. So that's when they kind of came up with the mission objectives for Juno to take a look at, try to quantify what's in the atmosphere and in the core of Jupiter. So the current theory is that it's a fuzzy core, mostly metallic hydrogen in the core. And then they're also investigating the rest of the atmosphere, of course, how much the percentage of oxygen and water present in the atmosphere. Then, of course, measuring the gravitational field, distribution of mass, and all of that good stuff. So the rest of the science objectives, looking at the magnetosphere, taking a look at how it's creating that large magnetic field, determining how deep in the core of Jupiter it's creating that magnetic field, and just in general, understanding the fundamental of physics of dynamo theory, which is the theory of how, the sun, the earth, Jupiter all create that magnetic field. Also to map variations in the atmospheric composition, temperature, structure, clouds, all of that good stuff. And then just try to get a better feel for all of the things happening at the poles. So for gravity science, kind of like I mentioned in Cassini, it's using microwave bands, the K-band and X-band communication systems. They've got a translator system hardware on Juno and then the corresponding systems on Earth to take a look at the change in velocity over time using Doppler shift. So that the gravity science part of the instruments, half of that instrumentation is on Earth actually. GIRAM, the infrared auroral mapper, it's a spectrometer mapper in near infrared to survey the upper layers of the atmosphere, taking a look at it in 3.4 micrometer wavelength. And then just learning, determining just how the clouds and the water are flowing beneath the surface and detecting the amounts of methane, water vapor, ammonia, phosphine, and so on in the atmosphere. The instruments doing that, magnetometers, the flux gate magnetometer and the advanced stellar compass together determines what the flux field is and the direction of flux field comparing, against the stellar background. And then the microwave radiometer, looking at microwaves in all of these different bands, 600 meg, 1.2 gigahertz, 2.4, 4.8, 9.6, and 22 gigahertz, which are frequencies that the microwaves can pass through the atmosphere. So they can actually read what's going on. And again, that's part of what helps determine how much water and ammonia in the deeper layers of the atmosphere. It also helps us determine the temperature profile of the planet. Two other instruments, the particle detectors, the Jovian energetic particle detector, but that easy for me to say. So JEDI, I wonder where they came up with that acronym. That one's detecting high energy particles. And then the JADE, the Jovian auroral distribution experiment, is the low energy particles. Then finally, 404, looking at the radio waves and plasma waves. So a couple of antennae with their corresponding radios detecting those waves and looking at primarily at the aurora and looking at the interactions between the atmosphere and the magnetosphere. UVS, looking at things in the UV range. And then finally, the Juno cam. It's the one and only true visible light camera that's on Juno. The whole intent of that one was actually just for public outreach and public education. And then they go, well, we can do that, but also let's, do more study of the dynamics of the cloud surfaces. So anyway, a couple of images coming from that one. Here's one that's taken at the Great Red Spot, taken on February 12th, 2019. It's actually 3 images that were put together to create that composite view. A really cool picture of a massive storm up in the northern hemisphere about latitude 42 almost. And then a one from the South Pole as it was doing one of the flybys of the South Pole. That one's kind of cool. Take a look at all of those little oval features are individual cyclones. And you can see just how huge Jupiter is because each one of those little spots is 600 miles, up to 600 miles in diameter. And then finally, IO casting at shadow. So Suresh, did you image this one? Probably from the wrong angle. Yeah, different angle. You can't do it from here. Anyway, so that's about all I did. I intended to just have a short overview. So that's that. One thing I did want to tack onto this thing. So, you know, as you can see from Dave's presentation, we're spending a huge amount of money to bring the people back to the moon, but we've got an administration that doesn't want to spend huge amounts of money on NASA. So it seems a bit lopsided to me right now. I just don't know how, you know, I don't know if you've seen a couple of things that, you know, last year's budget for NASA, they tried cutting it down to extinction level funding for scientific experiments. And that's including things like, you know, the new ones, you know, similar to Juno and Cassini and all of the ones preceding that I mentioned. So, you know, they've got that continual problem. Right now, they still have another argument on how much NASA is going to be funded for this year. So who knows where that's going to come. But the call to action is about, there's another thing coming up. The Office of Management and Budget proposed a rewrite of rules governing federal grants. So under the proposed rules, you know, the way that they've always issued the grants for science is science, universities, whatever, you know, the scientists write the grant request, and then, you know, they have the review, like the decadal survey and other reviews, looking at, okay, what do we want to fund for that? And that's what ends up funding that. The new rules would mean that any federal agency can cancel any grant at any time based on the assertion that it's not in the national interest, whatever that actually means. What that means is the scientific community is no longer in charge of approving funding. So fortunately, this has not happened yet, but it's getting close. But it's helping to further destabilize the research, the institutions, the workforce, everything that, you know, made us the leader in the past. And it's also really messing up our ability to work with our national partners in the ESA and JSA, JAXA, whatever, the Japanese scientific agency. So the call to action on that is, now the rules can't be implemented without public input, but take a look at the date. July 13th at midnight is the end of the public comment period. So I've already gone to the site that's on the QR code there. And you don't have to write a whole lot there, but, you know, write something about what your interest is in it, what you think should be done, and basically plead with them to, you know, restore the OM or continue with the OMB's capability to have the scientists, the scientific community in charge of funding rather than the administration. So that website is up. They have some information on the website, plus also a form you can fill out for a letter, and it shoots it into them. So if you have any interest in it whatsoever, I'd appreciate it if you go ahead and do that. I've done that already on mine. And I will leave that up. That was actually all the slides I have. So we're done early here tonight. Yeah, Dave.
So at the end of the Cassini mission, they determined they didn't have sufficient fuel to continue to maneuver the spacecraft. So to keep it from contaminating anything else in the Saturnian system, they directed it into the atmosphere to burn up. Do you know if they're planning on doing the same thing with Juno?
As far as I know from what I was reading, no, it probably will eventually devolve into Juno. If you noticed on that orbital map that was going around and around, the animated one, it is decaying in the orbit. So basically what I saw was they said the mission is going to be over when they lose communication with it, which is going to mean either, you know, everything's died because of radiation damage, or that it's actually plummeted into the atmosphere. So I'm not sure when that's going to happen. Hopefully it'll last a long time, and hopefully they have the funding to keep doing the science with it until it finishes. Suresh.
Thanks. So the only planet mission I know that's upcoming is Dragonfly. Do you, Dave, or you, or Steve, do you guys know of any other ones?
Well.
Oh, yeah. Yeah, Europa Clipper and Dragonflyer too, yeah. Oh, okay. I remember seeing about them, but I unfortunately didn't do the research on those guys, so no, I can't speak too much about those at all. Oops. Sorry, people online. I just tripped over your camera. There's planned, but it's not, it hasn't been funded yet. Yeah.
I think if NASA promised to put a golden arch up in the moon, they get all the money they need.
Probably, yeah. Either that, or if Elon Musk says he wants to do it, we'd probably get it. I don't know. I was gonna do a quip during your presentation, going, I think the main objective of Artemis is to enrich in SpaceX. Oh, okay. From the audience, in Sky and Telescope this month, there's a good chart showing the NASA spending cuts and hopefully what's funded. Hopefully. Okay.
All right, thank you,
Yeah,
Steve.
okay, thanks.
Well, as Steve said, we have wrapped up fairly early, so I did cut out a bunch of slides that I normally cover, but since we do have some extra time, I do want to just mention briefly, without slides, is for especially for brand new members, is our Loner Scope program. So Anton, raise your hand. So Anton is the coordinator for Loner Scopes. So there's a form on the website. If you're a member in good standing, you can fill that out, and you can borrow Dobsonians, refractors, and SCTs for up to a month, and sometimes more than a month. We've got a fleet of like 18 scopes. How many scopes we have? 19 scopes, including a solar scope and binoculars and stuff like that. So um, that's one of the major benefits for club members. So yeah, and soon to be two electronic scopes, a C-Star and a Unistellar scope will become available through the loaner program as well. We don't know when that's going to get launched. We're just still putting the infrastructure together behind that program. But we have that. Also, we have DVDs available. We can great course DVDs about astronomy and physics that are really good. So those are all, you can browse the whole history, the whole catalog of loaners on the website. And then Anton will arrange a time. You can come pick it up in Anton's driveway and borrow a telescope for the price of membership for a month, which is a great deal. Another benefit is we do offer MAS merchandise. So we've got 3 stores that are active. We got Cafe Press, we have Spreadshirt, and we have Redbubble. So links to those are on the website. You can buy T-shirts, sweatshirts, all kinds of cool stuff. So and we try to keep the prices as low as we can. We're not taking a lot of money off the top on that merchandise to try to keep the prices as low as possible. And that's really about it. So volunteer where you can, volunteer for outreach events. Outreach people always want to fill tables and get help on star parties, help Suresh at BSIG events. Those are always fun. Help in the key holder events and the star parties at our observatories, Camping with the Stars, and help out at LLCC. Clayton mentioned committee. There'll be some committee committee openings here in the next year or so. So there'll be that's always, if you want to volunteer a little bit more and be on a committee, please do so. Raise your hand. Contact me. Contact any board member. Contact the site committee leaders, and be happy to talk to you about that. Also, at the end of the year, elections are coming up, so we've got some. We'll have some board positions opening up. So there will the candidates for next year is president, and secretary and one of the board members at large will be up. So we'll put out call for candidates about the October timeframe. November will be the deadline for that, and then December meeting will be our the elections for next year. The December meeting of 2026, just like we did last year, we're going to have a swap meet. We're going to concentrate most of the time. We're going to do elections, and then we're going to jump right into the swap meet. We're not going to do any presentations or standard PowerPoint stuff. So it's going to be an hour and a half of swap meet. So it should be really good. So fun stuff. So any questions? So finally, as usual, so thank you, Steve, again, Fini. Ahmed wanted me to send one more reminder. So send your astro photos to Ahmed by July 31st for next month's meeting right here. There'll be door prizes for all the submissions, or we'll put you in the hat for our door prize, and that. And then after the meeting tonight, a bunch of us get together at Pizza Luce. So we get to go out there a little bit early. So thank you, everybody. There, go back. There you go.
I do have one note before
Oh.
we leave. I forgot to
Oh.
mention.
Oh, there's some swag. There's some equipment available.
Yeah.
Feel free to take it in the back
Yep.
as well.
One
Yeah.
thing before we leave, as a nonprofit 501c3, we are required to make the tax returns available for you guys if you ask for them. So if you would like to take a look at the tax forms, shoot an email to the board or to me, or you
Yep.
can find them on the IRS website too.
Yep. All right. Thanks, everybody. See you next month.